we started with the human reproduction system, correct?
Yeah.
Today we have to start with the male, right? The male reproductive system. Okay, so just a quick recap. Like every time, who would like to give a quick recap? Who gave last time? I think no one gave last time because I started this chapter. So, and a lot of you were just joined. Okay, so let's go to Hanifa.
Yes.
So would you like to give me a quick recap of what we did in the last class, what we discussed and what you learned from the class? Just a brief one.
We learned about genetics and
We'll go series, like in a series. And the screen is in front of you to help you. We started with some basic things like haploid, diploid, right? Yes.
Yeah, we started about the introduction of sexual reproduction, how both the parents are involved, and how the embryo is formed to the process of fertilization. And we learned about the haploid and diploid cells. And then we also learned about we also learned about chromosomes and how the genetic material is passed down.
Yes. And
then we learned about how one gets the skin color and how sex is determined in one person.
I just gave you the basics. We did not actually discuss how it is determined. I just gave you the reasons, like what X and Y chromosomes play a role in sex determination, right? If it is X and X, it is a female, and if it is X and Y, it is a male, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Also see Hiba joining. Hello. Good evening, Hiba. Hiba, am I audible to you? Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So would you like to give me a brief recap? So Hanifa has discussed or told up to the sex determination that we discussed. Would you like to take it further? What did we do in the last class? Ovipary, vivipary, things that you are seeing on your screen. Can you see the screen? Yes, Eva, you're not audible to me. Is Hiba audible to anyone? No, right?
No, sir.
Okay, Samara.
Yes, sir.
Yes, quickly.
So we learned about oviparous. Oviparous means that organisms which lay eggs, example birds and reptiles, and viviparous are those which give birth to young ones, example mammals. And we learned about puberty. It is a time period at which a human body achieves a sexual maturation. Individual is capable of forming gametes and they reproduce and they can reproduce.
Yes.
Then we started learning about the male reproductive system. Spermatogenesis starts at puberty. Then boys reach puberty at the age of 13 to 15 years. And then oogenesis starts during embryonic stages.
Yes, but it is arrested. Okay, it gets arrested at some. It starts, but it does not end. Remember, we also discussed that.
Yes. And puberty in female, in girls, is at the age of 11 to 13 years. And it marks by the start of menstrual cycle.
Yes, right. And then I ask you to go and read male reproductive system from NCERT, right? How many of you went back and did read NCERT? Honestly, did you go back and read NCERT?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's start with the male reproductive system today. Just 1 second, let me align this. Okay. Now, talking about the male reproductive system, that will start. Okay, anyone has any doubts before I begin with the male reproductive system? Anything you want to ask regarding the previous class? Or you think you should ask a question that we can discuss? No? Okay, so let's begin with the, yes, anyone is saying something? Okay. So let's start with the male reproductive system. And as I told you already in the class that the reproductive system, especially sexual reproduction, the organisms that undergo sexual reproduction, the first most important thing is the fusion of gametes, correct? Fusion of gametes marks that there is a sexual reproduction happening. And gametogenesis is a very, very energy consuming process. It's very energy heavy on the system. And I also told you that males, after they reach puberty in human and in other organisms as well, males continuously keep producing sperms throughout their lives, correct? Right? They never stop gametogenesis like females do after a point. In males, it's a continuous process. So obviously males must be requiring lots and lots of energy all the time to produce gametes, correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
So this male reproductive system, let's first figure out what is the major jobs that it has to do. Okay, let's talk about that. So why is male reproductive system important? Write down certain points. The first point is that they produce, okay, store and transfer gametes, right? Now this transfer part is only, it's like a responsibility for the male system only. So production part, which is known as gametogenesis, is common for both males and females. Sorry, gametogenesis. So this part is common. Storage, to some extent, storage is also common because I already told you in female system, gametogenesis, which is oogenesis, initiates in the embryonic stage itself, and it stays stored, right? And then after they reach puberty, it is one ovum is released from each one ovary in 1 month. So they also store. But this transfer thing is like where males have to transfer their gametes into the female system so that they can go and fuse with the ovum. It's kind of similar with plants as well, because remember in plants, those who have not yet attended my classes for plant sexual reproduction, no problem. But you must be knowing from your junior classes that pollination happens, correct? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
And what is transferred in a pollination process?
The pollen grain.
Yes, which is the equivalent of the male gamete in animals, right?
Yes.
So always the male gametes gets transferred to the female part because lots of other further steps, which are important steps, and also the formation of zygote and embryo happens in the female system. So that's why male gametes needs to be transferred. So first thing the male reproductive system does is that they produce, store, and transfer gametes. Second thing, they also produce semen. Or semen, it's also known as semen. Now, semen is a protective fluid in which sperm stays protected because it has an alkaline pH. And I already told you that spermatozoa can only survive or survive well in alkaline pH. When they encounter acidic pH, they start dying. So male reproductive system, apart from producing gametes, they also have to produce semen, which is a fluid. You can write it's a protective fluid around the sperm. Protective fluid around the sperm. And third thing that this reproductive system does, apart from gametes and protecting the gametes, you know how this system actually works? Anyone? Any idea how does male reproductive system works? It was not working till puberty, right? It was there. The system was there in the body, but not producing gametes. Now, don't you think it's very interesting to think that there is a system already present in the body, but it is not working for a certain time. And the moment we reach puberty, what happens in the body that this system realizes that now I have to start working. So it starts producing gametes. How do you think it works? How do you think it is regulated is my question. Anyone? Atif? Sumaira? See, whenever I ask you any question, you do not have to worry about whether you are giving the right answer or not. It's all about logic. Biology is logical. That's why it's a field of science. If there is something, what do you think? If there is something which is not working for some time, but it is present, it's fully functional, but it's not functioning, then what do you need to do so that it starts functioning? You have a television in your homes, right? Or you just, like for these classes, you all must be joining from a device, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes. So you had that device through the whole day with you. So what did you do exactly at this time when your class starts that you joined with the class and the class started? What did you do? Come on, this answer you know, you did that. I cannot give a better analogy, like an easier analogy. What did you do, Sumaira, to join the classes? You just looked at the watch and the classes already, like it got joined automatically. So it's the time and it joined.
First, I
Must-
turned on my Wi-Fi.
Yes,
Then
right. Then
I joined through Zoom by putting the passcode and
exactly, you got some link, right?
yes.
There must have
You
been.
use the link to join.
Yes, you used a link to join. And who gave you the link?
Mishka sir.
Yes, so someone gave you the link, and then you realize that this link has certain information that you can access. And when you will tap into it, if you tap on the same link before or after the class, will it work?
No.
Will you be
No.
in my classes? Will you be studying biology? So it will only work at a particular right time, correct? This
Yes.
is true. This is true for anything that we want to regulate in a timely manner. Anything that has to be regulated on a temporal basis. The word temporal means on a time basis. That for that we need some signaling, right, or some messaging happening, correct? We need a link. We need something that stimulates the process exactly at that time. Yes or no? Whether it is about us joining a class or about any other thing that has to happen in a timely manner. For example, you have to go to school. So you will go school through some or the other way. Suppose you're going through a school bus, then that school bus needs to be present at the right time, at the right place where you can board that bus and go to school, correct? Yes or no? You cannot just go to school at any moment you feel like it's 7:30 in the night, let's go to school. No, there is a time. It only works in a temporal manner. Same is for the reproductive system. It works in our body in a temporal manner. In females, it was active. It was making gametes during the embryonic stage. Then right after birth, it did nothing. like till the female reached puberty. Then after it reached puberty, menstrual cycle started, and that also had a very, very regulated cycle of a month, and every month it was happening. Then after the female reach a certain age, it again stops. So do you think for all that to happen, we need some kind of signaling? Yes or no? V means the body needs. Yes. And
Yes.
where will that signaling come from in a body?
From the brain.
And how does brain signals? Brain does not talk to other organs through WhatsApp, just like, Nishkat send you a link on a WhatsApp group or something like that. How does brain works? Does it WhatsApps the ovaries and testes that see this is person X 13th birthday, so now wake up? No, right? What's happening? How does brain regulates our organs and our systems? Class 11th,
Hormones.
control and control and coordination. So there are two ways. One is called the neural control. Remember, neural control and coordination was one chapter, and the other
Yes,
was chemical control and coordination, in which we talked about hormones. Remember, everyone, hormones?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So the third thing that this male reproductive system has to do, apart from doing this primary job of producing gametes and producing semen, is to produce and secrete male sex hormones. Let's write down. Produce and secrete male sex hormones. So this whole male reproductive system functions through hormonal signaling. It would not have been possible if not for the hormonal signaling from our brain to the reproductive organs. It would not have happened in such regulated, timely manner. Okay. So write down this one question. Explain how the male reproductive system is regulated. So we'll now go into the regulation part. Before I teach you about the anatomy and the structures. So explain how the male reproductive system is regulated. Now, there are, and for this, I hope you remember class 11th, everyone. See, if you are not brushing up on a regular basis, so I'll advise all of you, whenever I'll teach you something, and if you see that there's a link of that concept to class 11th or any other junior classes that you have studied previously, please go back and just brush it up. Just look at it. Give no need to remember or mug it up or prepare it like an examination, but just look at it and understand what I was trying to say. Now, do you remember this one word called hypothalamus? Hypothalamus, people. What is hypothalamus, where it is present? Class 11th.
In the midbrain?
In the brain, Hanifa?
No.
Yes.
I don't remember.
Yes, it is in the brain. Thalamus is a structure in brain. What does the word hypo means? It's all about terminology. What does the word hypo means? Hypertonic, hypotonic, isotonic. The word hypo, okay.
The lesser.
Yes, it means low or below or less. Yes. So go to your terminology section and write the word hyper means more. And the word hypo is associated with low. Okay. High or low. The word hypo itself is like O. I remember it through O. So hypo is low. Now hypothalamus, it clearly means that it is where the thalamus is present in the brain. It is just lower to the thalamus. It's beneath the thalamus. Is it clear? That's why this structure is called hypothalamus, below the thalamus. Is it clear? Thalamus, cortex, they are all brain structures. Neuron in neural control and coordination. You must have studied the structure of brain. Remember frontal lobe, cortex, cerebellum, things like that.
Yes, sir.
If you do not, please go back and revise. Now, what does hypothalamus do? With respect to hormonal control and coordination, anyone remembers? Hypothalamus.
It releases hormones.
Yes, it releases only two kinds of hormones, which actually act as a regulatory mechanism for pituitary. Right? Pituitary. Pituitary gland. Remember pituitary gland, known as the master gland, because it secretes a lot of hormones and also regulates and controls a lot of system and organs in our body. So pituitary gland is controlled by hypothalamus. Either hypothalamus increases or promotes the release from pituitary, or it inhibits the release from pituitary. So whatever hormone pituitary is releasing, hypothalamus can just tell pituitary to release it more, or to stop releasing it. So it only works two ways. It is like a clamp to open or close the release in pituitary. But pituitary releases lots and lots of different hormones. And in pituitary also there is an anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So from posterior pituitary, there are two hormones that are released, oxytocin and vasopressin. Remember, people?
Yes, sir.
Most of the hormones are released from anterior. So here I'll be talking about anterior pituitary. And from anterior pituitary, there are two hormones released. One is FSH. Can anyone tell me the full form of this?
Follicle
is-
stimulating hormone.
Yes, follicle stimulating hormone. Perfect. And second is LH. Can you tell me the name?
Luteinizing hormone.
Yes. Any vague remembrance of what follicle stimulating hormone was doing? What was the role of follicle stimulating hormone? FSH. Where do these FSH and LH hormones they go? Where do they act? They are released from pituitary in the brain, but where do they go? What is their target organ? It targets ovary, testis. In females, it targets ovaries, and in males, it targets testis. And this is where we are interested in this, because it targets testis in males. Okay. Now, any idea what does FSH and LH do? Do you remember it? See, so hypothalamus tells the pituitary to release FSH and LH. Pituitary, the anterior part of it, releases FSH and LH. And the FSH and LH go and targets the testis. Now, what is their function? Write down first point, FSH. FSH is important. FSH is important for sperm production, which is spermatogenesis. Okay. It starts. If FSH is not there, sperm production will not start. Okay. Is it clear? From the testis. So when a male reaches puberty, basically it's the brain that senses that the male is now sexually mature and it's ready for sexual maturation. And then after you reach puberty around that age. That's why there is a range between 13 to 15. Somewhere in that range, brain starts producing FSH and starts sending it to the testes. And then in the testes, FSH just go and tell the testes that now is the time for you to wake up, get active, because you now have to work and start producing gametes. Okay, so spermatogenesis starts in the effect of SHX. First thing, is it clear? Everyone on the same page?
Yes, sir.
And what does LH do? Any idea? LH? LH is write down. LH is responsible for stimulating the release of testosterone. Now, I'm sure that you all have heard this word, testosterone. What is testosterone? You must have heard this word, right? Testosterone.
Male hormone.
Male hormone for what? It's the major male sexual hormone produced from the testes, right? Because LH is targeting the testes and asking the testes to produce another hormone which is known as testosterone. And what does testosterone do? So once this start to come in the system, testosterone does not come into the picture or in the male system unless and until the brain starts producing LH. It goes to the testes and then tells the testes to produce testosterone. After testosterone is produced, it has major two functions. First is it brings the puberty related changes, right? Puberty related secondary sexual characters. Everything that makes a boy into a man after puberty is brought about by this testosterone in the male system. And the second thing that testosterone does is, remember that FSH started spermatogenesis? So it goes and also kind of regulates or maintains the spermatogenesis. So it keeps spermatogenesis happening. So you can write down testosterone. First thing, it brings the puberty related secondary sexual characters in the male. And second, it is necessary to continue spermatogenesis. Is it clear, everyone?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Now the interesting thing is the levels of testosterone. So when a boy reaches puberty, we think that what we are seeing actually is the first thing. It's not the first thing. So by the time we start seeing puberty related changes in a male, you now know that already all of this has happened. The signaling has already happened. Hormones from pituitary has already been released. They have already reached the testis. The spermatogenesis is already started, and testosterone is there in the system, because that is why these changes are now happening. Is it correct? So it is just a readout. It's just a output that we see. And what happens in males during puberty? What are these secondary sexual characters that we are talking about? What are the changes? What are the changes that happen in a male during puberty? Quick. This is something that you must be observing, like those who are males here, like Atif must have observed it in himself, and you all must have observed in your cousins or your younger brothers or adolescents in your family, right? So first thing that is very, very a visible character is facial hairs, right? Facial hair, like beard and mustache, starts growing, correct? And what else? What changes does a male system, male body, male physiology goes through when puberty hits?
Change in voice.
Change in voice. Voice becomes more coarse. It becomes very low pitched. So you can write voice become more coarse and low pitched. Yes, we also, some books write it as heavy. Voice becomes heavy and masculine. Okay, anything else? Voice, facial hairs. Apart from facial hairs, there are also pubic hairs that grow. Now, pubic hairs are the hair which are present around these reproductive parts, because the first concentration of testosterone is around the reproductive system in a male. Now, there are two types of hair. One which is not related to the reproductive changes, which is like hair on the scalp or on the head, eyebrows, eyelashes, right? These are hair which do not which has nothing to do with the reproductive changes, right? They are all present right from, like, they develop after a baby is born, correct? Earlier, if we go back in evolution, what is the purpose of hair on our body or on any organism's body? Why is hair there? So that we can, get a nice haircut and look impressive. Yes, and if
Protection.
yes, protection. So in nature, the presence of hair on the epidermis, on the on birds, hair are present on mammals' body. Is it clear, everyone? Now, if you see organisms other than human, so human, because now we do not rely on our hair for protection. So over time, the hair growth and the coverage that the hair has on our body has reduced. Okay. But if you see other organisms which are still closely related to humans in terms of evolution, like chimpanzee, gorillas, you'll see their body is fully, like, almost covered with hair, right? Very thick hair. Yes or no? Yes? You understand, everyone?
Yes, sir.
We lost hair over time because we figured out that we can cover and we can protect our body through different other means, like clothes. And before that, it was the animal skin that our ancestors used to use to cover, and now it's clothes. Now, let me ask you a very interesting question. When something touches your skin, right? If you are like, suppose you are moving in the dark, or if you are sitting next to a friend and then friend tries to touch your hand with a pencil or a pen or something, do you feel that sensation? You know that something is touching your skin, right?
Yes.
But when we wear clothes, like shirt is all the time on the skin, but do you feel your shirt all the time? Do we feel our clothes all the time, touching and sending us touch sensations? Think about it. Yes or no?
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes, of course, when you're paying attention to it, but that touch, like that sensation of a cloth on our skin, is it always giving signal to our brain? Like, are you always
No.
conscious that, see, this is the shirt. Oh, I got touched by the shirt again. Oh, again. Oh, now again. Does it happen?
No.
But if you get touched by an animal just moving through, like beneath your leg, or something just touches you instantly, you just get to know that something has touched you, right?
Yes, sir.
So how does it happen? How does our brain know that all these sensation is from a cloth, and I do not have to worry about it, and this sensation might mean something which I should worry about? Maybe it's an insect or something. And if you see, you will not be feeling anything. You are comfortable working with on your things, on your laptop or something, sitting, watching a movie, you know, and the clothes, you're not feeling clothes. But suddenly, if any insect starts crawling beneath that cloth, you instantly feel it, right?
Yes.
So the same area where the cloth was touching throughout the day was not giving your brain a stimulus or something like to pay attention to. But the moment an insect started crawling at the same region, just beneath the cloth, you get to know it, right?
Yes.
Isn't so? What do you think is happening here? Any idea what is happening here? I'm just
We
asking it
don't
because
feel the cloth because we're familiar with the feel of it.
yes, perfect. So you use the word we are familiar. This means that we get habituated. So habituation is one thing that has allowed us like over time, and it takes a lot of time, you know. Like a baby cannot talk back and tell us that what all things he can feel, but a baby, it takes like a newborn baby feels every touch, even if it is the cloth. For some time it is everything that is feeling. After some time, things that are continuously giving you stimulus, our brain realizes and understands that see, this is just going to be there. Now this person will wear cloth every day and every time, so let me not worry about this sensation. Let me not just this like overwhelm the brain by telling that oh something touched, oh something touched again. No, let's just not do that. So that is called habituation. For that, the same thing happens for any sensory part that we have. Any one of you has ever been to a place which is not good in smell, or like you just move through an area which smells very foul, something like that?
Yes.
Yes. So when we for the first time move through that area, it becomes like we cannot bear it, right? We're like we need to
Yes.
hold our breath. But you, if you see and if you realize, there are people living around in that area, and even if you start staying there after 2, 3, 4 days, you will not be as uncomfortable as you were the first day when you moved through from there, right? So what happens? Is the smell now diminished?
No, we just became familiar with it.
Exactly.
We
So
became
our perception,
habituated.
yes, our olfactory perception of smell, like the smell system, realize that this is going to be there constantly, and I don't have to worry about it because it's not causing a damage, or it's not posing a threat to my existence. So let me not worry about that, right? So it's like it's again it's a example of habituation. When hair is there, like on the body, and over time when we started losing hair in evolution into from like areas, or we now have very like what you get in goosebumps, right? Very fine hairs are present on our epidermis. If you see closely your hands and legs, there are still hair, right? You will never lose these hair because these are the hair which actually helps in your touch perception. So sometimes you will feel even something does not touch your actual skin, but just like a mosquito or a fly, even if it attempts to sit on your skin, these very fine hair-like structures, when something touches them, they send a signal to our skin. And inside their skin, there are sensory nerve endings, which are called mechanosensory nerves, which tells us that something is trying to touch or is touching your skin. Is it clear? So these hair are not for protection, the very fine hair. I just wanted. So there are many types of hair and they serve many purpose. So if they are, uh, if they are not very fine, they are stronger hair, they can provide protection. But if they are very fine hair, actually every part of our skin is uh, covered with very fine hairs. You know that?
Yes, sir.
That's why every part of our skin can have this touch perception. And these receptors get habituated for cloth, but the actual hair might not. So presence of hair on the body, if it is related to sexual maturity, it is the facial hair, mustache, beard, and the pubic hair which is around the reproductive parts of a male and a female. Okay. What else? One thing is the height shoots up, right?
Yes.
When both boys and girls, when they reach puberty, the height just shoots up. And it has actually, you can actually see it. So now, like at that time, we do not understand it that well. But now when we study biology, sometimes, especially when a kid is like 13, 14 or 15, he or she is in around 7th, 8th or 9th standard, correct? Yes? Approximately, like a 14-year-old kid is in 8th standard, right? 8th or 9th
Yes.
standard. Yeah. So can you now recall back, think like sometimes just before the summer holidays, the 2 months, so there used to be 2 months long holidays, which were like summer. I don't know if it is there in Middle East. Is it there? The 2
Yes,
month
sir.
long summer holidays? Yes. So before summer holidays, you see your friends and then they go on summer holidays. And if in between that summer holidays, all these changes are taking place and the person is touching puberty, then you meet that person after summer holidays and you see that something has changed. He looks taller, right? Just
Yes,
within 2 months, you see your friends look taller, including you yourself. But for yourself, you do not realize it much because you're seeing yourself every day. So for you, it's like a very, very small growth happening every day. But when you see your friends, you can see the stark change that I'm seeing you after 2, 3 months and you look taller. It happens so fast. Okay. So height shoots up. And what else? Muscle mass. Testosterone helps in increase of muscle mass. So muscle mass increases along with the bone density. Keep writing these things. So bone density increases, muscle mass increases when males touch puberty. And all of this is happening under the effect of testosterone. One more important thing that happens is fat distribution, both for males and females, because now there are certain regions of the body that needs more cushion and fat and preparation and strength, whereas certain other areas will not require that much fat. Now this fat distribution becomes more regulated and effective when you reach puberty. This is one reason why it is said that kids who have not reached puberty should not get tendency of being obese. So any one of you knows or have seen someone who is overweight but yet not reached puberty? You know about anyone? Just you don't have to tell
No,
me
sir.
about that, but have you seen a kid who's like
No, sir.
who have not reached puberty but is overweight? So normally it does not happen and it should not happen, because if that happens, it's a very, very difficult situation for that kid, because that obesity either is genetic or happening because of a bad lifestyle or lots and lots of junk food being given to that kid. So kids who are obese very early in their life, suffer a lot on like health's point of view. So the kid should be lean. It's okay. Like if it is slightly underweight, it will work, because the moment it will reach puberty, it will start distributing fat and it can gain weight and muscle mass and strength, etc. But if a kid is already obese before puberty, it becomes very difficult, because during puberty also you get it to increase things in your body. And if there is lots of fat in your body, somewhere it also affects, like it is believed, and some research has also suggested that the development of muscle strength and muscle mass gets hampered if a person is very, very obese. Okay, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. And the last thing, that testosterone is very, very responsible, or these sex hormones are very responsible, is the sexual drive. Now, this is a very interesting behavioral phenomena about which we will talk for like next 2-3 minutes. Now, sexual drive is a behavior change in organisms that reach sexual maturity. Now, one part of being human and being aware of all these things is to handle it better. Now, we know that the urge, or what we call as the sexual drive in adolescents, is very common. Now, they should be properly educated about it so that they do not develop certain habits which is not good for them, both morally and physically in a long run. But unless and until they know it, they are aware about it, it's very difficult to control such things. It's just a human psychology. Think it like this. I always discuss this with students. If there is a pathway, a roadway through which lots of people like travel every day, okay, and imagine there is an alley or there is a road and people are going to office. Thousands of people commute through that route every day, and there is a big door, okay, which leads to an entry into a house, and that door is not closed properly. Like, you can see that it's slightly open, but do you think how many people will try to enter that door? If they are not thieves, let's see that none of them are thieves, all of them are working people, but do you think anyone will bother going and looking that why is this door open, let me try to enter inside?
Yes.
Yes or no?
No.
No. But if I do this one thing, that I let the door open, but put a very big notice on the door visible to everyone which says, please do not enter. So now I'm asking not to enter, but the door is open. What do you think now will happen? Significant amount of people will just out of curiosity. Yes,
Try to enter.
they will try to enter. Why will they try to enter now? Why are they not minding their own business now?
Because now they are curious.
Now we have put a seed in their thoughts. It only works one way. You can never unthink or not think of something. Suppose I ask you, imagine a mango. What are you thinking of?
Mango.
Now I'm telling you, don't. Yes. Now I'm telling you, don't think about a river. What are you thinking of?
A river.
River.
Exactly. So it never works like don't think about a river. So you cannot think about it. Of course you will think about it. So this is how psychology works, and this is how education. This is why education becomes important. That see, if you try to keep something covered under a layer, and you try to protect your kids, your friends, or any human from reaching it, the more you try to protect it and prevent them from getting there, they will find ways to get there, right? This is human curiosity. And nowadays, everything is almost free. All knowledge is almost there, right? Sitting in your palm. Like, you all have multimedia phones, you all have internet, right? You can just technically search and get to know anything, right? But this is where it becomes more important to take you through education and tell you things that are important, so that now okay, I already know this thing. So what is the point of thinking unnecessarily about certain things which are not good? So when you talk about something, when it comes in the open, it's not a gossip anymore. It is called an open source of knowledge, and people only enjoy gossips. But if you can enjoy knowledge, then it's like, okay, you have the knowledge, you do not need to whisper about it. You must have. So I have, when I used to study, there was no concept of these online digital classes, and we were very limited also. Like back in 2009-10, when we were in school, from these gadgets, mobiles were not a very common thing in everyone's hand, and internet was not something very, very easily available, So in offline teaching, what I realized was, every time I have seen this, so when the biology teacher will come to the class, and even when he'll say that, okay, so now we are going to study reproductive system, there was giggling all over the class. No one was laughing out loud, but everyone was knowing that, okay, this is something, you understand what I'm trying to say? So there was an atmosphere that was both uncomfortable for few, because no one was guided properly that why it is important, why are we studying about penis as an organ. Because the moment we heard the word penis, even it just worked like, don't think about a river. Of course you will think about a river, but what if you know everything about a river? That river is not going to indulge your brain in a wasteful process where you are going back and forth and thinking about the river. Is it clear, everyone? This is where
Yes.
education is
Yes.
important, and this is where it should be there. Now the word sexual drive, again, it's a very, very important thing to understand from biology's perspective, and this is very interesting. I already told you that sexual reproduction is very, very energy consuming a process, correct?
Yes, sir.
Not only because of the act, not only because the male has to find a female first. Have you seen birds? Birds they utilize enormous energy just to please a female partner. Birds do all sorts of courtship. They have very beautiful courtship behaviors. They dance, they just show their plumage, they just keep flying in the air and do all sorts of things to impress the female. And only when the female gets impressed, the male gets a chance to copulate with the female and bring forth the further generation. But keep flying, and that is same for male human as well, right? In humans also, in a very structured, mannered way, we have to impress people, right? Yes or no? Now you all are in class 12th, you will be in college soon, and the moment we enter college, there are all sorts of friendships blooming and all sorts of attraction to the opposite sex that comes into everyone's psychology. Even if you do not want it, it is there because the biology is inside playing a part. But we as civilized people, we as mannered individuals know that what should we do and what should we not do. So just going and saying hello is something that it's good, but it takes a lot of like palpitation, heartbeat is there, ups and downs in your blood pressure, butterflies in the belly. All these things, they are actually biologically true, but they all take lots of energy, right? For a bird to keep flying, show the plumage, try to impress the female, and the female might just wait there for 2 minutes, look all your circus that you are doing, and might decide, okay, not my type, and fly away. And that the male is like left with lesser energy, then again it has to eat or get more energy, find another female, do the same thing all over again. Do you understand? So in biology, finding a mate, making gametes inside the body itself, and then finally transferring the gamete and copulating, everything related to sexual reproduction is very, very energy consuming. Yes or no?
Yes.
Then my
Yes.
question is, why in evolution sexual reproduction is so successful? Why an organism would like to lose so much of energy just because it cares for like the next generation? Do you think that animals really care about their kids being born when they are undergoing all this? Do you really care that the bird is very much worried about who will inherit my nest and all my wealth, to whom I will write my will? Like this is a worry which can happen in humans, right? Because humans are, apart from wild, they are also civilized, they have other thought processes. So for a human, it could be a decision that yes, as a married couple, someone needs kids. You understand? That could be a need. Yes or no? A social need, a personal need.
Yes.
But for birds, it's not a need, no? Yes? Do you think a male bird is very, very worried about who will inherit my nest? Who's going to be, whom I'm going to call my eldest successor or something like that? No, right? Then
Yes.
why these organisms spend so much of energy in wild, where energy is a very, very like it is the currency of life. You would not like to lose energy because probably the next day or the next week or the next month something might happen that you do not get food anymore, like there is a famine, drought, so you have to be ready. and you also cannot cultivate, you do not have a bank balance, you are a wild animal, you are a zebra. So why are they worried about sexual reproduction? This is because of this sexual drive. So these hormones, which I'm talking about in human male, is present in all sexually reproducing organisms. In all sexually reproducing organisms, sex hormones bring about sexual drive. And this sexual drive is very strong feeling. It's not a feeling actually. It changes the behavior and makes the organism do that sexual reproduction act at any cost. And I really mean it, at any cost. And some species do this at the cost of their own lives. So this is how nature is hardwired to keep that species continue. Okay. How many of you have heard of, anyone has pets? Before I go there, anyone has a pet, a cat or a dog? A male cat or a male dog? Anyone? No? No one has a pet? Anyone who knows someone who has a pet? A male cat or a male dog? So often for pets, like it is advised that if you have a male cat or a male dog, you should get that pet castrated. You know what is castration? Anyone idea? It's removal of testes.
Yes.
It's surgical removal. Surgically, you remove that testes. Why do we do this? Now it is cruel.
So that they don't reproduce.
Yeah, but I think reproduction is not our worry. What is the worry? Oh, what happened? I just lost the screen, no? Just 1 second. Okay, we can continue the discussion. Tell me, why do we continue, people? I'll figure out why did the screen stop. Tell me, why do we castrate our cats and dogs? The male ones. Yes, Hanifa.
So that they can't reproduce.
Yes, they can't reproduce is one thing, but do you really don't want them to reproduce? But we do not castrate the females, because we do want, what if you want
So that
babies?
the male cat does not run away.
Yes, you're now going towards a very good point. Why will the male cat run away?
In search of a female cat.
And why will it do that? Why will it run away from a house which is providing that male cat food, shelter, and you are a good owner? You love the cat loves you back, you talk to him, he talks to you. One day, all of a sudden, the male cat might run away. Why? You're right, he might do that. You're right about, and the same is thing for dogs as well. Just running away is not the problem, you know. If you do not do castration, your male pets might become very arrogant as well. They may unnecessarily bark and bite and scratch. Basically, they get frustrated. Can you think of why? Anyone? Any idea why? Because if they are not castrated in time, they will also reach puberty. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
And when they will reach puberty, what they will produce? Because they are males, they will produce testosterone. And that testosterone, apart from bringing all these, now these changes may be different in a cat, because a cat does not have facial hair or mustache or a coarser voice, but there will be certain changes like growth, muscle mass, etc. But it will also bring about sexual drive.
Yes.
So at multiple instances, after some interval on a regular basis, the male cat might feel an urge to find a female mate and reproduce. But yes or no? That is called sexual drive. But because it's your male cat and you will not allow that male cat to just go out, wander, make friends, copulate and then come back. No, so it becomes frustrated when this drive is not fulfilled. It's just like hunger. Hunger is also a drive. It's a behavioral drive. So what happens? Have you seen a hungry person? There are stages of being hungry. The moment hunger starts, so you look for food. Yes.
Yes.
Suppose you do not get food. The second stage is frustration. Yes.
Yes.
You start becoming more and more frustrated about why I'm not getting food. I need food. You make your search more vigorous. Nowadays we don't do that. If you don't get food, you can swig it, or you can get it from Zomato or some other Dunzo or etc. But that is because we are human and we have made an ecosystem around ourselves. So that's why biology does not control us. We can control our biology to a very large extent, but animals cannot do that, right? So a hungry person also goes through phases like rapid surge, then frustration, and finally when you are so much less on energy and you are very, very hungry, you become like, you come to your ground state. You tend to sleep or not move at all. Yes.
Yes.
So similarly, in a sexual drive, and I told you it is such a strong drive, it can overpower all other drives. For example, that's why we make our cats and dogs undergo castration so that they can stay docile. Write down. Domesticated male animals like cats, dogs, and cattle. Domesticated male animals like cats. This is an NCERT question, and it has also come in boards multiple times. So domesticated male animals, pets like cats, dog, and cattle, are castrated to avoid them reaching sexual maturity and getting into sexual drive. Okay. Getting into sexual drive. It is done for like horses also, like horses which are used for like the jockey racers, or on a ranch, or for domestic uses. Earlier when it was used to travel, like they used to pull the what do we call it? What is that vehicle pulled by a horse? Horse cart. Yes. So you will see that horses are oftentimes either castrated, but if they're not castrated, because see, there is also a pro and con. If you are castrating a horse or any other organism, will it ever reach that prominent male muscle mass, growth, and strength? Will it reach that? Yes or no? People, if we castrate an animal, so it will never reach the prime pinnacle of the strength and muscle mass. Yes. Are you there, people? I cannot hear anyone. Okay. I think someone is trying to say something. So they will not reach that strength. But if you do not want to compromise on strength, then you have to keep them under control from this sexual drive. So the answer is they are castrated. Next point, continue in this. After castration, the animal remains docile and less arrogant. Docile and less arrogant. Docile means less arrogant, actually. Is it clear why castration is important for certain animals which we are using for domestic purposes?
Yes.
Especially in the males, right? And just to put these things in context, sexual drive is very, very strong a thing, because there are many species How many of you know about praying mantis? Praying mantis is an insect. Anyone knows about praying mantis? It has big eyes and it's a long face, this insect. And it looks like a twig. It always has hands folded like this. So it looks like it's all the time praying with big wings and an abdomen. Anyone has seen a praying mantis? It's green. Also, it comes in different colors. It's called mantis. Many cartoons are also there. Mantis.
Yes.
You know? Who knows?
I think I've seen one.
Yes, you might. So if it's an insect which has very long hands and the front hands are always like, if it is praying like this or this, it's always like this. That's why it's called praying mantis. It looks like it's all the time it's praying. Now, in some species of mantis, when the male comes into this sexual drive and actively starts finding the female, and when it finds the female and they are into that act of sexual reproduction, you know, the female eats the male's head off. So for the male of that species, it can only copulate once, and that is the end. But even when the female starts eating, chewing the head, literally chewing the head off of the male cannot just get out of that act. It cannot discontinue. Once it has committed to the sexual drive, it stays there and it dies. There is one rat also, a rat species that I know about. I think it belongs to some desert rat or something, where the males, after they reach sexual maturity, they continuously, if they can find mate, they continuously reproduce without eating. Sometimes for hours and hours they are finding mates and reproducing, and ultimately they die because of exhaustion. So this is how powerful sexual drive under the effect of these hormones can be in nature. Is it clear? The same sexual drive makes, or it's not like it motivates all those male birds to do all sorts of cleaning, dancing, that courtship behavior to impress the female, and all that energy lost just for reproduction. Is it clear, everyone? Yes or no? And we, being humans, at the top of the animal pyramid, we are also not any different. So we have this urge, we have the sexual drive developing because of testosterone. But we as humans are aware and informed. We know why it is happening. So we also can control it. We also can find ways to put all that energy in some good use rather than, behaving like animals. So this is where we can distinguish ourselves from animals, because we know a lot of things from education. So we cannot easily get tricked into things just because these molecules are behaving in some manner. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So these are all the changes which, if the question comes, write down a question. What are the puberty related changes in a human male? Explain in brief. So these are all the changes. And if they ask you what brings these changes, then the answer is testosterone, which is a hormone secreted by. Testosterone is secreted by. The name tells. It's
Testis.
secreted by testis. FSH and LH is secreted by
Pituitary gland.
pituitary gland in the brain. Perfect. Now, since you have understood this, now let's come to the male reproductive part. First, so this is the figure from NCERT. First, I'll habituate you to the various structures and what is the importance of that structure. Then we'll go to individual structure and I'll dictate you things that you need to write in exams. But let's try to understand with this figure here. Now, there are other things also that I would like to discuss with this figure, because since we have it. So what is this that you see where my cursor is hovering right now? This is the spine.
Backbone.
Yes, the vertebral column or the spine, the backbone, right? So this is the backbone. Do you know, can all of you see this last bone here? of the backbone?
Yes.
You know what is this known as? It's called coccyx. It has a name, coccyx. It is also known as the rudimentary tailbone. It is a remnant of a tailbone. And every human can actually feel the coccyx. It is there, it's pointy, it's very small a bone, and it's called a tailbone. It's rudimentary tailbone. Any embryo, anyone has seen image of an embryo, developing embryo? No? Write down a homework. Go on internet, search embryonic images of chicken, mouse, human. Even if you'll not get the exact images for human, you will get at least diagrammatic representation, and also something like, let's say, dolphin, any animal, even elephant. There are beautiful images of elephant embryo. Now, when you will see these embryo, you have to see these embryos written. Have you noted down, everyone? Noted? So you have to go to internet and just type the embryo of a chicken, mouse, human, dolphin, elephant, and see how they look like. One thing that you will see is all embryos, when they're developing, regardless of the fact whether it's a bird embryo, it's a elephant's embryo, a human embryo, or a mouse embryo, some characters are common. Okay, which is all embryos have a big structure that develops like into a head later on. Then this round body, and here they have buds which grows into limbs, you know, for legs and feet. And then there will be a tail-like structure which will be very prominent, and with this scar which develops into finally into an eye, and it will be in a cavity. So this kind of a structure will be common for all embryos, and this tail bone will be very prominent. Now humans do not have tail. We never had tail, you know. So this misconception that earlier we used to have tails and now it is not there is wrong. Even chimpanzees don't have tail. They never had tail. But the common ancestors of human, chimpanzees, and other higher primates or monkeys back in time when there was no human species was there, no chimpanzee species were there, and no monkey species were there, then these ancestors had tail. Okay, from there some species that diverged, they were tailless, like chimpanzees, orangutans, and human. Other species still had tail, like monkeys, and both the new world and the old world monkeys, and lemurs, or we call it langur. You know langur? Anyone? You understand
Yes.
the word langur? Yeah. So they have tail. But this kind of a structure you will find common in every embryo, which means to begin with, all embryos, when they are developing from zygote, from a single cell, when they're dividing, they have a basic plan. Then in that plan, there is certain signaling happening which tells that what structure should be made and what structure should not be made. For example, this position of thumb is a very interesting thing. You know, why are we so versatile? We can write, we can paint, we can draw, we can climb, we can cling, we can lift weight, because we have a thumb, opposing thumb, right? If this thumb was very close to our index finger here, we will not be able to do a lot of things that we can now do. And this thumb is small. So when we make a fist, it actually acts as a lock over that fist. Everyone, can you try this? Try making a fist. Do you think that this thumb is actually like a lock? So if you have to open someone's fist, the first thing that will open is thumb. And now these four are easy to open, correct? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So just the positioning and the size of this thumb makes our hand very, very like versatile. We can do a lot of things that other organisms cannot. Like we can write, because when we hold a pen, this thumb plays a very important role, correct? When we hold a spoon, or when we like fold, cling, this thumb plays an important role. Now, if this thumb was not opposing, which is in our case, it is. This is called the opposing thumb, where it can oppose our fingers, okay, and can generate force. We would have been different as a species. Similarly, the tailbone In humans, it does not grow. But how? Just by showing you a coccyx, a piece of the last bone of the spinal cord or the vertebral column, I cannot convince you that humans have the potential of growing tail. Of course you will never be convinced by this. But if I tell you that recently there was a research paper in which they have figured out that the gene which is responsible for the development of tail has been figured out. So they figured out in mice. Mouse develops tail. Mouse have tails, right?
Yeah.
And in your junior classes, have you studied this, that if you cut the tail of the mice, both male and female, and allow them to reproduce, in the progenies, will there be tail or no tail?
There will be a tail.
Exactly. There will always be a tail. No matter for how many generations you keep cutting the tail and allow them to reproduce, there will always be a tail. What does this mean? What does this experiment proves?
It means they have a gene that is responsible for it.
Yes, it means that these features are not just physical features that gets passed on. They are not acquired features. They are genetically encoded features. So no matter, even if you cut the tail, if inside the nucleus of that sperm and the ovum that mouse are producing, if that gene is present there, it will again get activated in the progenies, even if the parents were tailless. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, recently what they did, they figured out the region of the DNA which actually is responsible for the formation of tail, and they just deleted that region from the genome. Okay. Now, they deleted that region from the genome of the sperms and ovum, like from the gametes of a tailed mice. So the parents now have tail. Okay. In their gametes, you remove that region from their genome and do in vitro fertilization, put back the embryo inside a female's uterus. Now when the mice will develop, and now when the female will give birth, the offsprings were tailless. Isn't it fascinating? That tailed parents gave rise to tailless mouse, the mouse without tail. Interesting or not?
Yes.
Which proves that actually one gene can decide whether you will have tail or you will not have tail. Now the rest thing is what needs to be done is to figure out whether that gene is present in other organisms or not. And you know that human genome is sequenced. We have sequenced our whole genome. Human Genome Project.
Yes.
In class 12th, it's very important a topic. So interestingly, that gene is also present in human, but is not functional because it's broken. And how it is broken? Because of some mutation or something. It's not a continuous gene. How many of you know that a gene is only functional if it has a ORF, open reading frame, like it starts from something and that ends somewhere. So in between, that gene which is present on the DNA will get converted into a RNA and then will get converted into a protein, which gives rise to different characters. So if this gene in between, there is some kachra, some waste things added because of mutation or something deleted because of a mutation, now this gene becomes dysfunctional. But if I again take that gene from mouse and put it in the human embryo, in place of, so we have that gene, but it's not functional in our genome. So if we can repair that, make it functional, human babies will again start developing tail as embryos. This is not allowed because this is unethical to do any experiment on human or human embryos. But if I ask you just to prove this, whether it's possible or not, because it still does not prove that we have the potential or tailless organism, because mice always has tail. So if I say that if I take that gene out, the progenies will not have tail, makes perfect sense. What's the big deal? Anyone can come and say, what's the big deal? You just remove that gene, it will be tailless. Now, if I can prove that a tailless organism, which does not have tail in nature, like a human, can develop a tail when that gene gets in, this is something, right? This is something which is a big deal. So we cannot do it on human, but what can we use something else if we cannot use human embryos? something which is very close to us in evolution, and if this thing gets
Chimpanzees?
chimpanzees, perfect. Do chimpanzees have tail?
No, they don't.
No. So if a chimpanzee embryo, if they get an permission to work on a chimpanzee embryo, and anytime like they can produce the first ever chimpanzee with a tail on the planet, what does this mean? Dania. This means that we have decoded, right?
Yes.
And in future, if humanity sits and decides we need a tail, it's getting very difficult to work with just two hands. A tail might be good to hold the coffee mug. And someday in future, it's possible, we can be avatars. Anyone has seen Avatar as a movie? Avatar,
Yes.
these blue,
Yes,
they had
sir.
tail. They are humanoid and they had tail.
Yes.
Yes. But that's just a point of discussion. But the point is, science has given us answers that to believe in, that yes, it's not just a myth or a thing that we just believe in. It actually is true. Now that's about tail. Now coming back to this. So there are two types of organ in male reproductive system. One is the external organs, and others are internal organs and glands. Now external organs mostly first is penis. Now this is a structure, an organ which is responsible for the transfer of gametes into the female system during copulation, or which the word is sexual intercourse. So during that time, this penis as an organ plays an important role in transferring the sperms which were produced here in the testis. Now this testis is located in scrotum. Just look at, so scrotum is a muscular bag or a sac-like structure which is hanging out of the body. So testis is not present inside the body. Okay everyone?
Yes, sir.
But it was formed inside the body. You should also know this. So in entrances they ask the formation of testis as a structure. It happens inside the body. Where are ovaries present in females? Inside the abdomen, right? They are inside the body wall. Just above the kidney in males, in a male embryo, this testis is produced. So when it is formed, it is up in the abdomen at the level of kidneys. Over the time, it has to descend back. That is called descent of the testis. So these testes as an organ has to come down and get settled in this scrotum. Scrotum is the muscular sac. Now this descent is very important. Why it's important? Because testis, the reason why testis is outside the body wall is to maintain a lower temperature than the body temperature. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Spermatogenesis, write down this point. Question, this is also again a very, very common question. It's so common that I don't know if it will be asked or not, but it has been asked so many times in so many exams. Why is testis located outside the abdomen or the body wall in the scrotum? So there is a pair of testes in male. Okay, this diagram is misleading if you think there is only one testis. There are two testes. So testis is singular and there are two in number. So the term we use is testes. This is plural. Okay. Now, why are they? Have you written the question?
Yes, sir.
Write down the answer. Testes are located outside the body cavity. Outside the abdominal cavity to maintain a temperature. Lesser than the body temperature in males. Lesser than the body temperatures in male. And in bracket, write down 2 to 4 degrees less. 2 to 4 degrees. It's a range. 2 to 4 degrees less. For spermatogenesis to happen efficiently, for spermatogenesis to happen efficiently. So spermatogenesis does not happen efficiently at the body temperature. And what is the body temperature, everyone? What is the human body temperature?
36, 35.
It's 36.9 degrees Celsius, which we call as 37 degrees Celsius. The exact, which, and I will tell you in next class how have we decided this one temperature is to be exact, but it's 37 degrees Celsius or 36.9 degrees Celsius. And it cannot happen effectively. Now at 37 degrees Celsius also spermatogenesis will happen, but less effectively, like there will be less sperms produced. So another question that was asked in a way that which of the following conditions affects the spermatogenesis? Diarrhea, fever, which is hyperthermia, nausea, or common cold? Which has the potential to affect spermatogenesis? Diarrhea, fever, hyperthermia. Now can you understand why hyperthermia has the potential to? So whenever we are in fever or the body is under infection and we are feverish, it affects the spermatogenesis in males. Okay, because at higher temperatures spermatogenesis becomes less and less. And this scrotum is attached to the body wall. I'm using this blue color here to make so there are certain muscles here, okay, which keeps the scrotum attached to the body wall. It is not mentioned in NCERT, but write this, it is important for entrances. It's called cremaster muscles. Cremaster muscles. And about cremaster muscles and everything we will study in the next class in detail. So quickly, testis produces sperms. It goes up through the vas deferens. It first goes into this structure called epididymis. I don't know if they have marked this, but this structure sitting like a crescent over the testis is epididymis. Then it goes up into the body from vas deferens, and then the first thing, seminal vesicle, is a gland present, which is internal gland. And then this is the prostate gland. There are three glands: seminal vesicle gland, prostate gland, and this bulbourethral gland. All of these three glands are important to make semen. Okay, they all have their contribution in semen. And then finally it comes through this urethra. So after bulbourethral gland, this is called urethra, and urethra is the common opening. You can write down, it's common passage for urine and sperm, okay, both, because this you see here, urinary bladder. So in males, the urinary excretory system is actually coupled with the reproductive system. So urethra is the common opening for both urine and sperms, and finally it ends in the penis. And it is also a very important structure from entrance point of view. We will be studying about different muscles that it has and how it works biologically in the next class. Okay, everyone. So I think it's time. I should not. So I'll be dictating you in the next class, but I'm giving you a homework. Okay, you have to go and read about spermatogenesis. And before you do this, you have to read about meiosis. Remember meiosis and mitosis, everyone? So you have like few days now before Monday. And one thing, okay, so you have to read meiosis and spermatogenesis a little bit. Meiosis is more important. Spermatogenesis, even if you do not do it, I'll take care of it, but please do if you want it. Now, this is a question for Dania, Samaira, Hanifa, three of you, okay? So are you all ready for a backup class on weekends, Saturday and Sunday, this Saturday and Sunday?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Samaira,
sir.
Dania,
Yes. Yes.
and Hanifa, okay?
Yeah.
So we will be doing the asexual and plant sexual reproduction on the weekend classes, okay? So the link will come to you. It will be around the same time. Like what is it right now in your place? What is the time right now at your place?
It's 5:30 right now.
5:30. So somewhere around 6:30 or 7. Will it be fine if we can have one backup class
Yes, sir.
on Saturday and Sunday?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll get it scheduled and I will ask them to send you the link. Dania, Samaira, and Hanifa. There was someone else who's the other new student? She's also a girl. Anyone remembers the name? I'll figure it out. No problem. Okay, so this Saturday, Sunday, there are extra classes for you, the new students. And please study meiosis and spermatogenesis, and we'll discuss this in the next class. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay, then bye everyone. Take care. Stay blessed.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good